Welcome to the New Planner Podcast, where it's all about helping you successfully enter the financial planning profession and accelerate your financial planning career. This podcast will help you understand the profession, become familiar with the various career paths available to you, and avoid the mistakes that limit your success. Join your host, Caleb Brown, to explore the human side of creating a successful planning career through interviews, personal experience, and insights from the trenches. Let's get started.
Welcome to the New Planner Podcast. This is Caleb Brown, your host. I'm joined today by Lonniece McDonald, an associate financial advisor at HIGHLAND Financial Advisors. Lonniece joins the show today to discuss her recent transition from a large family office type firm to a smaller boutique RIA, how her role has shifted and what she's learned throughout the process, and how she's fitting in with the new firm. Plus her thoughts on AI taking her job and tips for newer planners. I hope you enjoy this episode with Lonniece McDonald. Hi, Lonniece. Welcome to the New Planner Podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for fitting us in on a Friday afternoon. Really appreciate that.
Happy Friday.
I would like for you to start, if you would, on, we're going to flip it up a little bit. Maybe just describe your current role. Like what are you doing right now, every day, for the majority of the day?
That is a great question. So I'm currently an associate wealth advisor at HIGHLAND Financial Advisors, and my day-to-day honestly looks very different. But to sum it up, I would say I am the middleman between the advisors, lead advisors or senior advisors, and some of the analysts that we work alongside with. So my job is to be in those meetings with the advisor, supporting them, making sure that any client action items are getting completed, any follow-up items are being completed, any recap emails are being sent out. But I'm also making sure that any analysts or any analysis or any financial plans that we are planning to present on are accurate and updated. I'm helping assist as we onboard new clients, kind of walking them through that process from start to finish and making sure that we are dotting our I's and crossing our T's.
Got it. So it sounds like it's a heavy client-facing role. Are you dealing with the clients?
Yeah, correct. So I can be interacting with them via email. Sometimes they'll call me directly via phone. And then we also have in-person or meetings via Zoom.
And is the career track in HIGHLAND kind of, you mentioned analyst, is that kind of more the entry level? And then it's sort of you, the associate wealth, and then there's somebody on top that's maybe the lead. Is that the way it's structured?
Yeah, I guess the structure that we kind of know or known for is like a diamond team structure. So any diamond could have, two associate wealth advisors. At the top is the senior or lead advisor. And then we kind of work with one or two analysts.
Okay. And then just give us a sense. So you're reviewing, these analysts are putting together the analyses and the plans, you're reviewing them and then presenting it to the client or to the lead advisor. Is that what you said earlier?
Correct. When we get a new client, we kind of, want to take a look at all of their statements and all the information that they provide. We obviously want to put it together in a plan that makes sense to them, but also to us as we plan to kind of discuss their financial plans and incorporate their goals and all of the things that they want to achieve in life. And from there, we'll kind of present it to them, get their, consensus of how they feel about it, if there's anything that we need to change or, make adjustments to. And have them kind of like sign off on it. And then we'll make iterations as we meet with the client over time.
And when you joined the firm, did you start working with the existing clients or have you had to bring in clients of your own?
That's a great question. I started working with existing clients, but as new clients come on, I do get exposure to them as well. So a little bit of both, but I am not responsible for, or it's not my responsibility at this moment to bring in clients. If I do, that's awesome. That's great. If I don't, it's also equally as okay.
Okay. So there's not a lot of pressure to bring in family and friends or cold call people or anything like that. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, because you've been in the new role, and we're going to work backwards, I guess. You've been in the new role about 5 or 6 months.
Yep.
What has been the most enjoyable part of the new firm and new role thus far?
Yeah, that's a tough question because I have a lot of favorites so far. Obviously, I really do enjoy helping individuals. So, like, whenever we do present on a financial plan, or if there's any kind of nuanced task that the client doesn't necessarily want to do that we take care of, kind of getting their feedback and hearing, like, I'm so glad to be working with you all. That really is like a highlight of my day when a client is like, I don't know what I would have done without you all, kind of getting that positive feedback. But outside of that, it's just being the gap, like bridging the gap. So, our analysts are doing a lot of things. You can imagine senior advisors are busy. So kind of like making, keeping things on track, making sure things are running smoothly, and things are getting completed. We never want to, say we're going to do something and not follow up on it. So I enjoy kind of like ensuring that things are getting done from start to finish.
And that's not a good value proposition if you're in a service business, right? Promise something and not deliver. And although there are businesses out there that do that and somehow they're still in business. But okay, so talk to us about let's just go back on your career history. So you were before this, I think like a family. Talk to us about the other firm that you came from and how maybe the current firm that you're with now is different in size, scope, and structure.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I was at Hall Capital Partners, but I think they're now called Pathstone. And just some differences, they're a much larger firm. So I want to say originally Hall was around 125 employees. And then with the merge with Pathstone, where we were looking at maybe 800 employees, so really large. So here at Highland, it's really small, which I really value. You kind of have a hand in everything and you get to learn a ton. Even though I'm an associate wealth advisor, I'm learning things from the analysts and the senior advisors. It's really a team feel, which is really helpful. And the fact that we're smaller, we could just have more conversations quickly. From a client perspective, I want to say that Pathstone, I worked with a lot of families. So AUM was a little larger. I think my smallest client was maybe 150 million, whereas our ideal client here at Highland is usually somewhere 1 million to 2 million. So a little bit smaller in terms of AUM, but I'm enjoying, I think what is consistent is, the nuance or the different scenarios or case by case scenarios each client bring. They all have unique experiences or things that they need assistance with. So that's what keeps me on my toes and kind of remain the same from both organizations.
Sounds like the other firm, it was ultra high net worth people, 100 million and up. And now it's more affluent, mass affluent, and I'm sure there's still some ultra affluent people in there too. So, and it sounds like you've embraced sort of going to a smaller firm. You've enjoyed that. What about working? You touched on this a little bit, but maybe for our audience, what are some of the pros and cons of working with these? Because there's probably some career changers. Other people are like, man, if I could just work with someone that had $100 million, all my problems would be solved. Maybe talk about some pros and cons of working with that level of client and then versus someone who's got a couple $1,000,000.
Yeah, that's a great question. I also forgot to mention some of the work we do is slightly different. So at Pathstone, it was predominantly investment management focused. So it's, ultra high net worth clients, managing their investments, ensuring that they have, the cash or liquidity they need to, make their purchases or take care of whatever bills or expenses they may have. Whereas at Highland is a little bit more of a comprehensive, holistic financial planning. So the scope of the work is slightly different. There's a little overlap, but very different. But to answer your original question, working with ultra high net worth is like very high touch. As client requests comes in, it's really important to make sure that you're on top of those things. Like I said, it's predominantly investment management. So there's deadlines and, dates that you want to be mindful of as it pertains to subscribing to an investment fund or even like withdrawing from an investment. So very high touch, high level things. In terms of like the client service, I think that doesn't change. You always want to make sure that as client has requests coming in, you are, making sure to acknowledge them, follow up on them, and kind of not leaving time to wait. Like, for example, when you just think about it, like if you had to wait a day or two for your money, you probably wouldn't like that. So I would say that the client service part is still the same. Some other differences, I would say maybe like the nuance or the level, some things that we're doing. Like, for example, there's clients, because naturally the client has a little bit more funding, their estate planning might be more drawn out. There might be numerous trusts that they're kind of like working with, whereas, working with a smaller client with less AUM, you may not have that nuance there. It may be one trust or it may be no trust. Like sometimes that's not necessary as, we think about their estate plans.
You're not dealing with airplanes and businesses in different continents, usually with somebody that's got a couple $1,000,000 versus someone who has a couple 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then, so before the Hall Capital, what were you doing before then?
That is a good question. Before Hall, I believe I was working at Allstate as a finance analyst. Very different from wealth management. And my role, I believe I was on the expense team. And my role was kind of putting together analysis, trying to understand, where we're spending the bulk of money, why we're spending. Is there ways we could reduce spending, what trends that I'm noticing, and kind of like presenting that information to board of directors and all the constituents.
Was that your first job out of college, the Allstate?
No, I feel like I worked somewhere else. I'm trying to remember. It feels so long ago. I've had internships within the field. Yeah, I guess you can say like first serious full time in finance.
Okay. What caused you to get all these financial planning interns? You've got a lot of other internships too, but what caused you to get all these internships in financial planning? Is that when did you decide, hey, this is really what I want to try to do?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, I've always known I wanted to do finance. Like, ever since I was a little girl, I was like, oh, I'm pretty good at saving, like helping people. As I like thought through high school and college, I'm like, well, how can I make a career out of that? So it was always either going to be finance or accounting. And I took one accounting class and figured out very quickly that it was finance that I was seeking. I guess the reason why I did as many internships as you can see on my resume, is because I wanted to get an understanding of, okay, what part of finance are you more drawn to? Like, finance is so vague, and there's a lot of things you can do. You could do FP&A, which is very different from wealth management and things of that sort. So I just wanted to narrow it down and be a little bit more specific about what it is I wanted to do. And it's very easy to say that you like a job without knowing what that job entails. So I just wanted to get as much exposure to, the different avenues and see what actually felt comfortable to me. And I think initially I started with down the FP&A route. So just doing, being a financial analysis or analyst, I'm doing financial analysis. And then I realized that I haven't tried wealth management yet. So that was kind of why I segued from Allstate to Hall Capital Partners to kind of like deviate.
And just for the people at FP&A, just explain to them what that is.
So it's pretty much like I mentioned at Allstate, right? You are looking at a lot of balance sheets, expenses, revenue, and depending on where you sit, you're just conducting a few analysis, looking for trends, kind of using that information to help, I think at the very top would be the CFO, but you have like finance managers and people that you work alongside with. So
corporate finance, right? Corporate finance versus personal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. Cool. All right. So, and then in college, you did not get a financial planning degree. At least I wasn't able to see that.
I didn't. I don't know that I went to SUNY Newport. I don't know that they offered that. So that would have been super helpful to know about. But I just got my bachelor's in finance.
But then somehow you how did you end up getting qualified to sit for the CFP exam?
So there's some schools that offer that degree, but if you don't go to a school that offer that degree, you have to take some prerequisite courses. So I would say a year and a half going through, I want to say 6 modules to kind of qualify me. And then coupled with my work experience, that's how I qualified to sit for the CFP.
Okay, so you got the CFP when you were, was that when you were at Hall, or when did you pick that up?
Yep, I was at Hall.
Okay, got it. And any other designations that your credentials that you're looking at?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I think my CFP allows me to do all of the things that I'm interested in doing at the moment, servicing clients. I think my CFP will be all for now. That may change.
Mhm.
Who knows?
Okay. And then let's go back to your current firm, your current role. I mean,
Mhm.
what for you to move up, if you want to, that's one of your goals, to I think you called it the lead advisor.
Mhm.
What do you have to have more experience? Do you have to develop another skill? Do you have to bring in clients? What do you have, or maybe it's all those. What do you have to do to get to that level if you want to?
Yeah, I think it's just more experience and then eventually bringing in more clients as well. So it's a combination of, I think right now I work side by side with a lead advisor. I think the trajectory is, as I get more experience and get a handle of my clients, kind of handling those clients on my own. And then that next tier after that is doing the same, but then bringing on more clients. So,
And then you're the lead person and you've got
yeah.
someone kind of helping you, right?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome stuff, Lonniece. I really appreciate you sharing this. I'm also just curious about your thoughts on the future of the business. I mean, you've been at it for a while now,
Mhm.
but still early on. I mean, what do you see any major trends or changes or anything that could be happening over the next couple decades?
Yeah, like people keep, I'll have conversation with, some of my family or friends, and they're like, oh, you're not concerned, like AI is gonna, take over, steal your job. And I think that this industry is only going to continue growing. I think that AI is a tool and we can certainly take advantage of it and use it to kind of like expedite the work that we do. But I think at the end of the day, people still want to talk to people as it pertains to their finances. You usually see that people seek financial advisors when something is going on in the world, and I don't think that that's ever going to stop. So I think that the industry is just going to continue growing. I feel like there's an increase in CFPs. We're just growing and kind of like making a name for ourselves. So I have high hopes for the industry.
How do we get more women CFPs in the profession?
That is a good question. I think, like for me, I think it would have been really helpful to go to those schools that don't have the financial planning degree and kind of like get that installed or, added as a program. That would have been really helpful for me in my experience. I think it's also just creating exposure, starting as young as, high school, middle school, kind of like going into those schools and just creating awareness. I don't think that many people know what a CFP is and who they are and the path or trajectory to becoming one. It took me some time, like by trial and error, and just constantly networking with folks to understand that this was like a actual career that it's attainable. But prior to, college, I had no exposure to the profession. I had no idea what a CFP was. If I wasn't curious or just inquisitive and asked my professor, like, what does those letters behind his name meant, I would have never known. So just getting into the schools early, creating that exposure and bringing awareness to the profession is super helpful.
I want to go back to something you said earlier. I mean, like your professor was a CFP, and is that what happened? So you just lucked out and just got lucky? Is that what happened?
Yeah, funny enough, it was a tax class and he had so many letters, but I remember CFP and I just asked him kind of what that was. Also, he was the same professor for my financial planning course. So although they didn't necessarily have like a degree program, there was a financial planning course that I had to take that kind of mimic a little bit of what CFPs do. So that's kind of how I discovered and had like an aha moment.
So if there's any firm owners out there listening, it's like, if you're go teach classes, one, it helps the profession, but two, might also be a good recruiting tool for you.
Could be.
Okay. This is awesome. What else, Lonniece? Any other final thoughts or, well, maybe just I'm just looking at this. So I don't know, about 5 years? Is that right? 5 years in the business. I mean, what is your biggest takeaway after 5 years in a financial planning career?
I would say continue to be curious. Like, I think my curiosity got me far. It led me to asking questions, networking and connecting with people, trying to learn, trying to see what opportunities are out there, trying to learn the business a little bit more, becoming, more educated on different subject matter, being curious led me to creating, study groups where I can constantly connect with people to keep myself sharp and updated on, things that are happening in the world and staying current. I think being curious and constantly wanting to learn is super helpful.
Got it. Well, anything else that you'd like to share with the audience before we close out? I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. It's really amazing.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I definitely enjoyed being here. If there's anyone who wants to connect and learn more, I'm always happy to, talk about my path, my journey. I think this profession is awesome. I love what I do. And I look forward to working with, the folks that I'm working with and growing.
Is there any other profession that you could ever see yourself going to or getting recruited away to?
Oh, that is a fun question. I jokingly tell people I would have been like a therapist. So okay. I kind of look at myself as a financial therapist as is, but just like a regular therapist, or maybe, I don't know, a gym teacher, a gym coach, or some kind of fitness trainer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Well, great chatting with you. Thanks so much again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the New Planner Podcast. If you're ready to discover the top career paths for financial planners and see which track is best for you, we created a free guide to help you. Grab your copy of the Financial Planner Career Roadmap at newplannerrecruiting.com/roadmap. There, you'll also find more tools and resources all created to help you build a successful financial planning career. Tune back in next week for another episode, and until then, we're here to help you succeed.